I was 21 years old when I got married. Before my wedding, older Amish women gave me advice almost every day. Some told me how to manage a home, some taught me recipes, some explained how to care for a husband. Others spoke about faith and patience. I listened carefully. I wanted to be a good wife. I wanted to be ready. But there was one thing nobody warned me about. Not one person. Not my mother. Not my sisters. Not my aunts. Not even my grandmother. After marriage, there were things Amish wives quietly gave up. Not because anyone forced them. Not because there was a rule written somewhere. But because life changed, and nobody had prepared me for how much those changes would hurt. My name is Sarah Yoder. I grew up in a small Amish community in Pennsylvania. Our farm sat at the end of a long dirt road. It was not a large farm, but it was home. The kind of place where everyone knew each other. The kind of place where every corner held a memory. I loved it there. Most of all, I loved spending time with my younger sister Hannah. She was 4 years younger than me. Since childhood, we did almost everything together. We worked together, laughed together, shared secrets together. Even when we argued, it never lasted long. People often joked that we were more like best friends than sisters. Maybe they were right. When I began courting Isaac Miller, Hannah was excited. She liked him immediately. Everyone did. Isaac was kind, hardworking, honest, the type of young man parents trusted, the type of husband most girls hoped for. I loved him deeply, and when he asked me to marry him, I happily said yes. At the time, I believed marriage meant gaining something, a husband, a future, a family of my own. I never thought about what I might lose. The wedding day arrived. It was beautiful. Family filled the house. Friends traveled from nearby communities. The church service lasted most of the day. By evening, I was exhausted, but happy, very happy. As Isaac and I left, everyone waved goodbye. My mother cried. My father hugged me tightly. Hannah cried harder than anyone. I remember laughing through my own tears. I am not moving across the country. She wiped her eyes. I know. Then she hugged me again. Neither of us realized how much would change. The first few weeks of marriage were busy. There was always work, cooking, cleaning, laundry, gardening, helping neighbors, learning new routines. Every day seemed full. Isaac was wonderful, patient, supportive, understanding. I truly could not have asked for a better husband, yet something felt different. At first, I could not explain it. Then one afternoon, I finally understood. I was kneading bread dough when I thought of something funny, a story Hannah would have loved. Without thinking, I turned toward the door, ready to tell her. Then I stopped. The kitchen suddenly felt quiet, because Hannah was not there. For 21 years, she had always been nearby. Now she was not. That simple realization hit me harder than I expected. I finished making bread, but my heart felt heavy. Days later, something similar happened. I found an old ribbon while organizing a drawer. It reminded me of a childhood memory. Again, my first instinct was to find Hannah, to tell her, to laugh about it, to share the memory. Then I remembered. She was not here. I was beginning to understand something nobody had warned me about. After marriage, Amish wives often give up daily access to the people who know them best. Not completely, but enough to feel the difference. Weeks became months. I still visited my family. They visited me. Nothing was wrong. Yet everything was different. Before marriage, Hannah and I spoke every day. Now sometimes days passed without seeing each other. Then weeks. Life simply became busy. One evening after supper, Isaac noticed my mood. "You seem sad." I forced a smile. "I am fine." He looked unconvinced. "What is really bothering you?" I hesitated. Then I told the truth. "I miss Hannah." His expression softened immediately. "That is all?" I laughed. "That sounds small when you say it." "No." He shook his head. "It does not." For a moment we sat quietly. Then he surprised me. "I missed my brother after I got married." I looked at him. "Really?" He nodded. "We worked together every day." I had never heard him mention this before. I thought something was wrong with me. A smile appeared on my face. "Why?" "Because I was happily married." He shrugged. "I loved my new life." Then he added softly, "But I still missed my old one." Those words stayed with me, because that was exactly how I felt. I loved Isaac. I loved our home. I loved our future. Yet I still missed parts of the life I had left behind. Both feelings were true. One did not cancel the other. A few weeks later, Hannah visited. The moment she walked through the door, the house felt brighter. We talked while preparing supper. Then after the meal, we sat outside together. Just like old times, the conversation flowed naturally, nothing forced, nothing awkward. At one point, she looked at me and smiled. "I miss you." The words immediately brought tears to my eyes. "I miss you too." She laughed. "I thought marriage was supposed to make you cry less." I laughed through my tears. Apparently not. Then Hannah said something wise, something I have never forgotten. Maybe growing up means learning how to love people from farther away. I sat quietly, thinking about her words. Maybe that was the real thing nobody warned me about. Not giving up family, not giving up friendships, not giving up memories, but giving up constant closeness, learning to carry those relationships differently, learning to love without seeing someone every day, learning to stay connected even when life changes. That night, after Hannah left, I stood on the porch watching the stars. For the first time, I felt peace. The ache was still there, but it no longer felt frightening because I finally understood it. Marriage had not taken my sister away. Marriage had simply changed the way we shared our lives. And perhaps that was one of the hardest lessons young Amish wives learn. Not that they lose the people they love, but that they must learn new ways to hold them close. And nobody had warned me how much that would matter. The next spring, Isaac and I moved into a small farmhouse that belonged to his uncle. It sat on the edge of a large field. The nearest neighbor was almost a mile away. The place was beautiful, quiet, peaceful, perfect for a young couple starting their life together. At least that is what everyone said. For the first few days, I agreed. I enjoyed arranging the kitchen, planting flowers, organizing our belongings. Everything felt new. Everything felt exciting. Then reality slowly appeared. One morning, Isaac left before sunrise to help his father with planting season. I waved goodbye from the porch. He smiled and disappeared down the road. I expected him back by afternoon. Instead, he returned after dark, completely exhausted. The next day was the same, and the day after that, soon it became our routine. For the first time in my life, I spent long hours alone. Growing up, there was always someone nearby, my mother, my sisters, my brothers, a neighbor stopping by, a cousin visiting. The house had always felt alive. Now many afternoons felt incredibly quiet. At first, I told myself I would get used to it, but loneliness is strange. It does not arrive all at once. It arrives little by little, one empty afternoon at a time, one silent meal at a time, one quiet room at a time, one rainy day at a time. I never felt abandoned. Isaac worked hard because he loved our future. I understood that. Still, understanding something does not always make it easier. One rainy afternoon, I found myself sitting near the window watching water run down the glass. I had already finished my chores. The bread was baked, the laundry was done, the floors were clean, yet hours remained before Isaac returned. The silence felt heavy. I picked up a book, put it down, started sewing, stopped sewing, walked through the house, then walked back. Finally, I sat at the table and cried. Not loudly, just quietly. The kind of crying that comes when a person feels unexpectedly alone. That evening, Isaac immediately noticed something was wrong. He sat beside me. What happened? I hesitated. Part of me felt foolish. After all, nothing terrible had happened. No argument. No tragedy. No crisis. Just loneliness. Finally, I told him, I think I miss having people around. His face softened. Then he nodded. I understand. I looked at him. Do you? More than you know. That surprised me. Isaac was naturally calm, confident, comfortable almost everywhere. I could not imagine him feeling lonely, but he smiled knowingly. When I was 16, I spent several months helping relatives in another district. I listened. I thought I would enjoy the freedom. What happened? I hated it. I laughed. His answer came so quickly. He laughed too. I missed home. Then he added, I missed familiar faces. I understood exactly what he meant. Some people make life feel normal. When they are gone, even ordinary days feel different. The next Sunday after church, an older Amish woman named Esther approached me. Esther was known for noticing things other people missed. She looked at me carefully, then asked, How are you adjusting? I smiled politely. Fine. She laughed. That is not a real answer. I immediately liked her, so I told her the truth. I get lonely sometimes. Her expression did not change, not even slightly. Instead, she nodded as though I had told her something completely normal. Most young wives do. That surprised me. Really? Of course. She looked amused. Did nobody tell you? I shook my head. Esther laughed. They should have. Then she sat beside me. You know what many Amish wives quietly give up after marriage? I waited, being surrounded by people every hour of every day. The words immediately caught my attention, because that was exactly what I had been feeling. Growing up, life was shared. Everything was shared. Meals, work, stories, laughter, problems. Now many responsibilities belonged to me alone, not because anyone demanded it, because adulthood naturally brought it. Esther smiled. The first year can feel strange. I thought I was simply struggling. No. She shook her head. You are learning. Learning. The word felt comforting. Much better than failing. Over the following weeks, I thought about our conversation often. Maybe loneliness was not a sign something was wrong. Maybe it was part of becoming independent. Part of growing. Part of creating a life that belonged to me and Isaac. One afternoon, I decided to stop waiting for happiness to arrive. Instead, I began building it. I started helping an elderly widow nearby. Twice each week, I visited her home. We baked together, talked together, shared stories. She appreciated the company, so did I. Soon I began looking forward to those visits. Then another opportunity appeared. A young mother in the community needed help while recovering from an illness. I volunteered. Again, my days became fuller. My world became larger. Something inside me began changing. Slowly, naturally, I still loved quiet moments, but I no longer feared them. One evening, months later, I sat on the porch watching the sunset. The sky glowed orange across the fields. Isaac joined me. For several minutes we watched in silence. Then he smiled. You seem happier lately. I thought about it. He was right. I think I am. What changed? I looked toward the horizon, then answered honestly. I stopped wishing life would stay the same. He nodded, as though he understood, because he probably did. The truth was simple. Nobody had warned me that marriage would require letting go of constant companionship. Not forever, just enough to grow. Enough to discover who I was outside my parents' home. Enough to build confidence. Enough to create a life of my own. And while that lesson had been painful at first, it was also making me stronger. What I did not know was that another challenge was waiting ahead, one that would test my confidence in a completely different way. And unlike loneliness, this was something nobody in the community ever talked about openly. By the second year of marriage, I believed I had adjusted well. The loneliness that once bothered me had become easier to manage. I had found a rhythm, a routine, a sense of belonging in my new life. I felt more confident, more settled, more certain about who I was becoming. Then something happened that surprised me, not because it was dramatic, because it was quiet, and sometimes quiet changes are the hardest to notice. One Saturday afternoon, I visited my parents. The house was full of activity. My brothers were repairing equipment outside. My mother was preparing food. My sisters were laughing in the kitchen. Everything looked familiar. Everything looked exactly as I remembered. Yet something felt different. At first, I could not understand why. Then I realized the family no longer needed me the way they once had. That sounds selfish, but it is the truth. Before marriage, I had been part of every decision, every chore, every plan, every problem. Now life had continued without me. The farm still worked. The meals still happened. The chores were still completed. The family was doing fine. I should have been happy about that. Instead, I felt strangely emotional. During supper, everyone talked about events I had not experienced, stories I had not witnessed, problems I had not helped solve. For the first time, I felt like a visitor in the home where I had grown up. The realization hurt, more than I expected. That evening, after most people had gone outside, my mother noticed my mood. She sat beside me. You are quiet. I smiled. A little. She studied me carefully. Then she asked, what is really bothering you? I hesitated, then decided to tell the truth. I feel like things moved on without me. My mother smiled gently. Not because she found it funny, because she understood. Oh, Sarah. Those 2 words carried so much understanding. I immediately felt tears building. My mother squeezed my hand. You think you have been replaced? I stared at her. Because she had described the feeling perfectly. I nodded, she smiled softly. I felt the same way, that surprised me. You did, after I married your father. I had never heard this story before. She looked around the familiar kitchen. I came home one day and discovered everyone had learned how to live without me. I listened quietly. It broke my heart. The honesty in her voice surprised me. My mother always seemed strong, certain, confident. I had never imagined her struggling with the same feelings. Then she told me something I will never forget. Growing up means accepting that your place changes. I looked down. She continued. It does not disappear. That got my attention. It changes. There was a difference. A very important difference. My mother smiled. You are no longer one of the children in this house. I nodded. You are a daughter who has her own home now. The words felt strange, but true. For years I had been trying to hold on to my old place in the family. Maybe that was impossible. Maybe life was asking me to embrace a new role instead. That night, after returning home, I thought about our conversation for hours. The next morning, something happened that helped me understand. A young girl from church came to visit. She was 16, sweet, kind, nervous. After a while, she admitted she wanted advice about courtship. Advice from me. The idea almost made me laugh. Not long ago, I had been the one asking questions. Now someone was asking me. As we talked, I noticed something. She looked at me the same way I once looked at older married women. With curiosity, respect, trust. Suddenly I understood. Life had moved forward. Not away from me. Forward. I was not losing my place, I was growing into a new one. That realization changed everything. Over the next few months, I stopped trying to reclaim my old role. Instead, I embraced my new one. I still loved my family. I still visited often. I still cared deeply about them. But I no longer expected life to remain frozen. Because it never does. The truth was, nobody had warned me about this. Nobody told me that after marriage, an Amish wife often gives up being the center of her childhood home. Nobody explained that her role quietly changes. Nobody mentioned how emotional that transition could be. Yet perhaps it is one of the most important changes of all, because it teaches something valuable. Love is not measured by how much people need you. Love is measured by how deeply you care for them, even as life changes. One evening, as Isaac and I walked home from church, the sun was setting across the fields. The sky glowed gold. The air felt cool, peaceful. I slipped my hand into his. He smiled. What are you thinking about? I looked toward the horizon, then answered honestly. I think I finally understand marriage. He laughed softly. That sounds serious. It is. So tell me. I smiled. For a moment I searched for the right words. Then I found them. Marriage is not about losing your old life. He listened carefully. It is about allowing your life to grow. Isaac nodded slowly, then smiled. I think that sounds exactly right. As we continued walking, I felt grateful. Grateful for my childhood. Grateful for my family. Grateful for the lessons that had hurt. And grateful for the lessons that had healed. Because the things Amish wives give up after marriage are not always obvious. Sometimes they are invisible. A daily routine, constant companionship, a familiar place in the family. Yet what they gain can be beautiful too. A new purpose, a new home, a deeper understanding of love, and the confidence to step into the next chapter of life. Nobody warned me about any of that, but looking back now, I am glad they did not. Some lessons are meant to be lived before they can be understood.